Okay, here's the deal. I'm a buyer. I have a family. I got 3 kids, husband and wife. I'll be the wife in this one, and I got a husband and 3 kids, and we want to move. We really like the Englewood, Northport, Venice, Sarasota areas. We have our preferences on which one we like more than other. We kind of prefer Venice, but we want to know what our options are for $400,000, and which cities, like what are our home options and what would be the best option for a family as far as just the city in general. Talk to me.
Okay, I understand you want home in Venice ideally.
Yes.
At $400,000 or less.
Yes.
For a family like yours, unfortunately, that might not be quite as doable because I'm guessing you want a bedroom for each kid plus you and your husband's bedroom.
Yes.
So 4 bedrooms, right?
Yeah, ideally. I might be willing to get creative with spaces, and I might be willing to take on a little bit of a project.
Okay.
I'm a very flexible buyer. I'm flexible on a lot of fronts. I just kind of want to get a feel for what my options are at this point.
Okay. Well, yeah, then if you like Venice, we can start looking in Venice, and at $400,000, we could get you into a home. It might not be, a big home, and like you said, you would have to get creative with the spaces that you will have, and maybe it won't be quite as updated, but if you're handy, you can, do those updates as you go.
I'm a handy lady.
And ideally, in my opinion, if maybe you weren't as open to, a fixer-upper per se, I would say go with Northport just because you would find, a much better house for your money there. Bigger house, bigger lot, better for families because of that. But Venice is a great city for families.
Okay, and so talk to me a little bit about like what it would look like in Englewood to Sarasota, and what what are my options if I were to look at those areas? What would I get for my money? What do all the cities look like as far as for like families in general, like all the things I need to know? I'm really kind of new to this. I got a little bit of an idea from watching your awesome YouTube videos. Like and subscribe, but I want to get a little bit more detail from you.
Sure. So Sarasota, unfortunately, it wouldn't be doable just because Sarasota is a bigger city. It's more expensive. And you might not end up in the right side of town, even at $400,000.
Is it good for families overall, would you say?
I think so, yeah. It's good for families. I mean, it is a bigger city, so there's a lot more to do, especially for, like teenagers, younger kids. Venice, it's a little more quiet, and so it's Englewood. They're more of retiree towns, but they are both great for families, great schools, both in Englewood, Venice, Sarasota, Northport. You can't go wrong with the schools, really. Low crime. Sarasota, with it being a bigger city, obviously you're going to have a little more crime, but if you're in the right pocket of Sarasota, you'll be fine.
Okay, so Sarasota as a whole, you'd say is pretty safe, but just certain pockets, and then Englewood, you said is low crime,
yes.
Northport low crime, Venice low crime?
Yes.
Okay, and what will be like my home options in like, if that $400,000, what would that get me in, like if we looked at maybe Englewood? And also Port Charlotte, I've kind of heard a little bit about Port Charlotte. Talk to me about that.
Sure, in Port Charlotte, you could get a brand new home, new construction home, for well under $400,000 in a community. It won't be a gated community. It's in between Port Charlotte and Englewood.
Okay.
So you're very close to the beach as well, if that's,
because Englewood's got the beach, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of a house? I mean, we're talking $400,000, new construction home in between Englewood and Port Charlotte. Mm-hmm. What does that look like size-wise? Is it going to be kind of upgraded, or is it kind of, more like super stock, standard, bare bones, new construction home?
Yeah, you would be able to get a 3 to 4 bedroom house, pretty nice house in the area that I'm thinking right now. If you want to know about that area, make sure to call, text, or email me.
941-221-1897. Call or text anytime. We're always going to do your best interest and happiness in mind when moving to the Englewood, Northport, Venice, Sarasota, Port Charlotte, Nokomis, Welland Park areas. All right, back to the video.
So when you're in a community, you're kind of like in a cookie cutter house, right? Mm-hmm. But you would get a brand new house, pretty updated. The models that I've walked through, like really, really nice homes. And 3 to 4 bedrooms are around $300,000 to $400,000. Obviously, the bigger the house and the more upgraded it is, the more expensive it's going to be.
And Englewood, talk to me a little more detail on that. Like, what would I get for a house? Also, Northport, talk to me. Like, what would I get for a house?
So in Northport, if you don't want to go the HOA route,
I'm open to that, I guess. Okay. Talk to me about that as well after that, maybe.
So if you don't care for the HOA communities, you could find a really nice home in Northport and Englewood. Newer construction in both areas. Northport, you're going to find a lot of new construction for under $400,000. 3 to 4 bedrooms, bigger homes, bigger lots, and new construction.
Okay, so Venice, Englewood, Sarasota, I get the beach. Northport, Port-Charlotte, I'm gonna be a little more inland.
Mm-hmm. So Northport, unfortunately, doesn't have a lot of new home constructions, within HOA communities other than Welland Park, which is another neighborhood that's great for families, but at $400,000, that's not going to be doable at this time.
Gotcha.
And same thing with Englewood as well. They don't have a lot of HOA communities for new construction anyway.
And what are the pros and cons of having an HOA for a family like myself and my husband and my kids?
It really depends what you're looking for. If you're looking to feel safer, then an HOA community can provide a gate, so not a lot of people can, come in, or traffic, turning around in your neighborhood, things like that. So it keeps the traffic low, it keeps that sense of safety. But again, this area, it's very low crime, it's very safe for families. But the other thing that I do like HOA for families is because homes are closer together and there are typically sidewalks, so it makes it easier for kids to walk, to their neighbor's house or to their little friend's house. While if you're out of an HOA, a lot of times you don't have sidewalks, and if you are, say, like in Northport or Englewood, you might be pretty far. Homes might be pretty far from each other, so it might make it even more difficult for kids to maybe meet the neighbors.
So what I'm hearing from that too, though, is also that there's more potential for bigger yards in Englewood and Northport, mm-hmm. and they're going to have bigger yards. So if I want a little space to spread out, I got that, but less sidewalk. Okay, that makes sense. Talk to me as far as schools and the different neighborhoods. Like, what are we looking at? Like, especially Englewood. You piqued my interest with Englewood. I think we scratched off Sarasota probably, mm-hmm. and then Venice and Northport and Port-Charlotte.
So Sarasota County has great schools. Northport and Venice are both in Sarasota County. Okay. There is a very small part of Englewood that's also in Sarasota County. And Sarasota County is known for great schools. So if, having your children in great schools is it's a big deal for you.
Mm-mm. I want them in a really bad school.
So they can learn the ins and outs of life. Yeah. Most of Englewood, it's not in Sarasota County, but their school system is also pretty good.
Okay. And Port-Charlotte, talk to me there a little bit.
So Port-Charlotte is not in Sarasota County. It is a little bit bigger than Englewood and Northport. Port-Charlotte and Northport are pretty similar, but the crime rate is a little bit higher in Port-Charlotte. But again, if you're part of an HOA community, you don't really have to worry much about that, because you'll have kind of areas where it's a little bit more or less desirable. And the schools in Port-Charlotte are okay. They're not as great as, say, Sarasota, Venice, or Northport.
Being close to the beach sounds good, and Venice and Englewood can get me that. But I do like getting a little more house for my money, but Englewood is a possibility for that, right? Mm-hmm. But Northport school-wise, Northport and Englewood are somewhat comparable, would you say? Or Northport maybe has a slight edge?
A slight edge for Northport.
Okay. Sold. Let's get a nice house with a big yard in Northport for $400,000. I'll take 3 of them.
Yeah. If you're looking to move to any of these areas, make sure to call, text, or email us. I am a local realtor here. My information will be in the description box below.
941-221-1897. Call or text at any time. We're always going to have your best interest and happiness in mind when buying or selling a home in the area. Leave a comment with any other scenarios you'd like us to play out in one of these future videos. Hit all the buttons down below and live breezy.